Canine chaos. Doggy destruction.
They're driving me crazy.
No problem. Help is on the way. It's Pet Trainer 911.
Stop.
And a war hero named Fluffy comes home. All this plus flying with your pet. Next on Animal Attractions.
Hi, I'm Megan Blake. Welcome to Animal Attractions, the show about the deep affections people have for their pets.
I'm Alex Boylan, and this is my dog, Zulu. So let me ask you a question. How would you like access to America's top dog and cat experts?
That's right.
Well, we've got it right here. From breed profiles, health issues, to traveling with your pet. Today, we'll meet the family of Sergeant Russell Joyce and their heroic war dog. But first, do you have a pet emergency? No, I'm talking total pet family dysfunction. Well, that's a job for Coach Ronald White, our Pet Trainer 911. On any given day, the peace and tranquility of the Cunningham family can turn into chaos.
Why did you let them in? You have to see them because they make a disaster. They're driving me crazy.
Running a household that includes 6 kids can be challenging enough, but add in 2 badly behaving big dogs and the result is not a pretty picture.
They're good-natured, they're sweet dogs. That's why we got golden retrievers, because they're great with kids. Yet, though, a lot of the time our kids couldn't enjoy them because they weren't well trained to be inside. And some of that might be our fault. If they were inside, they were on our kitchen table, they were chewing up homework, you know, walking through projects. It just didn't work.
And also they weren't potty trained, so you could get a mess if they came in.
Bad dog. No. Ew, Rusty.
We definitely did not want to get rid of the dogs, so I felt like I had to come up with a solution. And that's when I called Ronald.
How you doing?
Hi.
Coach White.
When I first met Ronald White, when he came to our house, I was kind of surprised. He's you know, a small guy, and I was wondering if he was going to be able to handle these big dogs and their problems.
Well, this was a serious situation. The dogs stayed out in the garage, and there was, 6 kids. The husband was busy working. The wife stayed home with the dogs. There was no control of the dogs.
Here they are, and I just feel like, they could be great dogs, but when we try to let them in the house.
Is that the list?
That's my list.
Okay.
And here I say, they've always been outside dogs. They come in, they immediately jump on the furniture, like it's their own, chew on the furniture. When my husband comes home from work, sometimes he's tired, not paying attention, just go to open the door if the dogs are out here in the garage. They make a disaster, 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 disaster. I can't, I'm kind of at the end of my rope with it.
I'm gonna have your dog for 30 days. And then when I'm done, I'm gonna call you and tell you that your dogs are ready, and then I'm gonna train the family. And you got 7 days of me personally training you.
Okay.
And when I leave, the dogs leave.
Every time you leave, the dogs go home with you. Okay.
Let's go, come on. Okay. I let the owners know there's gonna be love and structure with this dog. Because sometimes they think, well, he's gonna go to this boot camp, it sounds like it's all military and the dog's gonna come home like a soldier. Well, he doesn't. When he comes home, he's still gonna remember you, play with you, but when you tell him to do something, he's gonna do it.
So we'll call you in 2 weeks?
Yep.
See how they're doing?
Yep.
Okay. Take good care of them.
Okay.
Come on, guys, let's go.
I love you.
I take the dog and the dog go back to my house, and I make their dog my dog. because what their dog was doing with them, he's gonna do with me. So all we do is just play with the dog, love on him, feed him, and then the dog starts doing those things that were on the list. And then after 7 or 8 days, it's downhill. It's time to go to training.
Ron's training, while effective, is deceptively simple. One of his favorite methods of civilizing unruly dogs is to tether them while inside, allowing them some limited freedom of movement while acclimating them to family life.
Y'all want eggs or cereal?
When he comes to my house, the dog is able to hang around with us, and my kids can tell the dog what to do. My wife gets used to a new dog, and the dog's just around us.
This afternoon I have a yearbook meeting, so.
When he comes to my house, I let him wear a leash, because a leash to a dog is like having your shoes untied. He can't move good. So what he'll do, he'll step on it, or it'll be between his legs, but he won't run through the house no more. And that gives you quick access to him. Sometimes we get a dog at the house that wants to eat everything. So what we do, we set the dog up to fail. We'll take something and set it on the table and let the dog see it. I'm watching him, he's watching me, but he'll still go up there and do it because he's used to doing it at home.
Leave it. Leave it.
And then hope that he gets it again, because the more you get him, the better he'll be. And then once a week, I'll take him through that same training. I'll put the food in front of him, tell him bad dog, leave it. And that's the way we train the dogs, to not to come eat from the table. Every dog should learn the basic commands, his obedience, and you should always work your dog. Keep the structure going. When I do to stop a dog from going out the door first, I'll tell him to wait and open the door.
Wait.
And then I step in first. And you should always go before your dog. I'm the leader. The dog is the follower. Okay, we're getting ready to go home.
With the first phase of training completed, it was time to reintroduce Roxy and Rusty to the family for the first time in a month.
I have a big surprise. I want you to shut your eyes. When I say 3, you can open them. Okay, shut your eyes. 1, 2, 3, surprise!
When they first came back, it was a huge improvement. The dogs really behaved. They seemed so much calmer. It was really unbelievable. They didn't jump all over everyone, push over the kids. Even though they were the same age, they behaved in a way as if they were a little older. I never expected so much success.
It takes me 30 days to train a dog. But when I take the dog back home, the hardest part is training the owners. If it's going to work, everybody has to be trained. So when you tell your dog to heel, heel means to walk. You tell him heel, stop, sit, down. When you walk, you say heel. And you tell him place, time out.
All right.
Stay.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I'm going to have you to try. Do
Okay.
just what I
Excuse me,
did.
Braden.
Well, this is going to be
Tell your dog to heel.
Heel. Look at that.
Stay.
That's good.
Now call him to you.
Come on.
Come here.
Come here.
And tell him time out.
Time out. Coach is helping us to learn Sit. what commands we use and what we communicate with our body language, and that's been very helpful.
Tell him heel, heel.
Heel. Place. Place. Wow.
I think that in a way the dogs are proud of themselves, that they're behaving, and because of that they're accepted into our family. Now they get to come in and they get to roll around on the floor with the kids and they get to play, and their life is better too.
Time out.
When I know that they are done, I'll be able to tell, because the dog will start listening to them, and I'll keep my voice out of it.
Place. Stop. Sit. Down. Stay.
Before Ron finally returns the dogs home, another essential aspect of the training is getting them accustomed to staying calm and obeying commands while outside and in public.
Place.
We'll take them out to a restaurant or a store or a car lot for the dog to get used to being around people.
Down. Stay.
Hi, how are you?
All right, how you doing?
Good. I cute puppy. Your dog is so lovely.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
If I can get you anything, just let me know.
Okay.
I want him to be obedient. I want him to sit down and stay when I sit down. And when the lady waits on me or somebody come past me, I don't want my dog jumping up on them.
With the family fully trained and prepared, Roxy and Rusty get to go home for real.
Come on, let's go.
Looking back on this whole experience, it's pretty unbelievable to think how they were before, their whole life before, and how our life is now with them, because now they're part of our family.
Now the oldest kids can all walk the dogs, they can control them, and it's very easy for us as well. They listen to our commands. It's very exciting.
Probably the biggest benefit of all of this is that now these dogs that I have are dogs that I would have loved to have had my whole life. When I was a little girl, I would have loved to have had a dog that was always there with me, could go anywhere with me, was, you know, my best friend. And now I have it and my kids have it. And it's definitely been worth it.
I travel a lot. So I was looking for a four-legged friend who'd want the job as my traveling companion. I thought about a small dog, but then this little sweetie found me in a parking lot. A feral kitten that I named Toot Sweet, the travel kitty. Toot Sweet has logged over 50,000 miles of air travel. Too bad they don't give him frequent flyer miles. We're gonna show you how to avoid some of the pitfalls in traveling by airplane. Then you both can just sit back and enjoy the ride. Curbside check-in is not allowed with a pet. You have to go inside. I'm fine, thank you. I have a cabin pet with me today.
Oh, okay. Where are you going?
I'm going to Dallas. Toot Sweet gets his own special ticket, but it doesn't have his name on it. It says excess baggage. Just like your carry-on luggage, the size of your crate is critical, and your cat must fit in it comfortably. But every airplane has its specific requirement. Toot. Airlines only allow a certain number of cabin pets per flight, which means your pet will be flying with you in the cabin and not down below with the luggage. So you have to book your reservation in advance over the phone. You can't book on the internet if you're flying with a pet. By the way, now for the big surprise. When you get to security, Kitty comes out of the box. But it's not a big deal if you're organized. All you have to do is remain calm and the cat will take his emotional cues from you. If you're okay, the kitty will trust you and he'll think everything's okay too. Here we go. First, place your carry-on on the security belt. Then take the cat out of his box and put his crate on the belt. To make the cat feel as secure as possible, hold him against your body with his claws facing away from you. Have a light grip around his two front paws, so if he panics, he can't whip around and climb you like a tree. And I trim his claws the night before. I call this the going through security position. Oh, and one more tip is to get your cat comfortable with the crate in your home before you travel. Leave it out where your cat spends time, and make it inviting by putting something familiar inside, like one of your t-shirts. Then, when you're finished with security, your cat will dive back in for the safety of his condo. All of these tips we've been talking about seem easy enough, but if you're not prepared, it can be a real nightmare. Bon voyage! Toot Sweet, let's go! Obviously, most pets are not content to be world travelers. Some are cut out to be entertainers like this little breed. But before you get too attached, you'd best get the facts. If you think small breeds are only good for curling up in your lap and wearing little ribbons, you don't know Jack. The Jack Russell Terrier has been called a big dog compressed into a little dog's body. It was originally bred to be a hunting dog. compact enough to follow a fox into a small hole, and aggressive enough to defend itself. It's a dog of seemingly limitless energy. You've seen Jack Russells on TV and in the movies, and they are cute. But are they right for you?
Jack Russells are some of the most lovable dogs I've ever been around, and they really genuinely love their owners. They really do. That's one of my favorite things about them, is they live to please you, and they're fun.
Their personality makes them a very interesting and a wonderful companion. They're loyal, they have a sense of humor. Come on, atta boy. Suspicious, they're always trying to find out what something smells like, what something tastes like. Curious, alert.
They're very smart is the main thing. I guess you've noticed you see them on a lot of commercials and things, and that's because they're very trainable.
The Jack Russell requires a great deal of exercise, a great deal of supervision, and a fair amount of discipline. The Jack Russell Terrier is not for everyone. He has been bred to be a working and a hunting dog. He requires an inordinate amount of exercise. Children who don't really know how to handle a dog could get in trouble with the Russell, because if the child is playing hard or doing rough things, the Russell will play back hard. But children that have been taught how to handle dogs, they're fine.
Some of the characteristics which make them such good hunting dogs can be frustrating for some pet owners. These include a desire to wander and explore their territory, digging, a characteristic that is common to most of the terrier breeds, and barking.
They're all different, and they all have a different personality, and I think that's one of the things that's so appealing to people about them. They kind of adapt to you, and they're really sweet dogs. They love to sleep with you. They want to do everything you do and want to be with you all the time if they can.
All this energy may not be appropriate for a small apartment, but if you've got the space and the supervision, it's hard to find a more dedicated dog than the Jack Russell Terrier.
We all love kissing our pooches, but before you get too carried away, there are a few things you might want to know. Dr. Jenna Kastner has the inside story.
Dental care is really something that's overlooked in our pet's health. The food that gets trapped between your pet's teeth can cause plaque and gingivitis, which means inflammation of the gums. That's sometimes what you see when they're red and inflamed. That can lead to tooth decay and pain when they're chewing. Additionally, the bacteria that causes all that can go through their bloodstream and seed to other places of their body, like their heart, their lungs, or their kidneys. So overall, it's one of the best things that you can do at home to ensure that your pet lives a long, happy life. The best thing that you can do for your dog's teeth is brush them. I know it sounds a little crazy and not everybody thinks that they can do it, and it might take a little work, but it really is worth a try.
Good girl.
You just start with a dog toothpaste, because you don't want to use the human kind because it can give your dog an upset stomach, and it comes in nifty flavors like poultry and beef and that kind of thing, so they like it. If you just take a little bit and you put it on your finger, you just start by rubbing your finger along their teeth. Eventually you can graduate and they make little finger brushes that you can put on your finger, and eventually you might even be able to get to a toothbrush. And you just kind of think about it like you're doing your own teeth and try to get everywhere you can. It's not a perfect system, and you do it as much as you can. Ideally, it would be great if you could do it once a day, but you know, that's probably not for everybody, but as much as you can do, it really does make a difference. Set a realistic goal for yourself, maybe once a week, maybe twice a week. That would be great. So make your schedule and get started, and the result will be a longer, happier, healthier life for your pet.
You've often heard them called man's best friend, but sometimes this relationship can run so deep that words just aren't enough. A man and his dog spending quality time together. Nothing that would make you sit up and take notice. Yet these are moments that Sergeant Russell Joyce doesn't take for granted. And this is not an ordinary dog. Like his owner, Fluffy is an American war hero.
Fluffy and I met in 2003 in Iraq. We were in the north helping the Kurds, and we only wanted a dog for early warning. So I asked the Kurds to get me a dog, and approximately 2 weeks later, out from a blanket popped a German Shepherd that we named Fluffy. I fed him chicken, I kind of befriended him, and he quickly responded to that. And we never knew we were going to get a dog that responded so well and did so many of the things that he does.
Good boy.
It was getting close for him to come home, and he had called one day and he said, "I'm bringing home a dog." And I said, I don't think I heard you correctly. You're doing what?
Being with Special Forces meant he was on the front lines every day. You grow a bond with a dog or a person. Doesn't matter who you're in combat with. You grow a bond with these people, and mine was with him, and I didn't want to see him left behind.
I was just very shocked and a little bit nervous. And of course, when he brought home Fluffy, it was a totally different story. I mean, there was this, what was supposed to be a hardy German Shepherd in my mind was just this thin, scared animal that just obviously needed a lot of love and attention.
It was never my intentions to bring him to my house, but once this unfolded, the way the chain of events did unfold, he was coming to my house and there was no question about it.
When we first got him, I really didn't want him. I was like, he's gonna bite me, stuff like that. I was so scared of him.
We take him to the military police and the civilian police canine units because I'm not a dog handler. And the U.S. War Dogs, they've done immaculate with helping us out through his rehab.
Well, the first day Fluffy came home, Elise and I were in my room, we were watching a movie, and my dad let him run around the backyard. And I think my dad was more nervous to have us meet him first because he was like, don't run, don't make any sudden movements, he could do this, he could do that.
So we have to do a lot of things in our house that's not normal, that people take for granted, having their pets and having friends over. My daughters don't have friends over. If they do, it's really choreographed. Everybody has to know where he is so they don't open the door and him dart out. Not that he is overly aggressive to them. You just can't have one situation where he puts a child, or anybody for that matter, coming to visit in harm's way, no.
So, he just fit into our family. He was very good around the kids. In fact, he's very protective of the children. And we just love him, and he's just, helps us feel really safe.
We were getting ready to leave from Iraq, and our intentions were really to just bring him back and give him the Lackland Air Force Base. But there's a lot of laws that cover moving animals from one place to another. The Air Force wasn't sure if he met the requirements to come home. So I had to come home first, and we had to leave him. I was a little upset. I wrote a letter to some people offline, just, the Vietnam dog handlers. How can I go to get him home? I don't want to see him just destroyed.
Having known about our dogs in Vietnam not being able to come home, my immediate response was it was really no way that this could happen. But luckily, there was many more people got involved that weekend.
And in a matter of 4 or 5 hours, I started getting hundreds and hundreds of calls. Doesn't matter who, but somebody had forwarded my letter because they felt like that this was something that had happened to them during the Vietnam War.
There were a number of Vietnam dog handlers out there in the country that was really supporting this and doing a lot of footwork.
The handlers remembered what happened with their dogs, and they didn't want to see it happen again. And it was that important to us.
The military was trying to get him home. They just didn't know how to do it.
Bringing Fluffy back brought us all together because we had a common cause.
He's now kind of like a living memorial for the Vietnam veterans and all the dog handlers during Vietnam. We try to take them to different events that they go to and let them see what all their hard work has done, because they weren't able to bring their comrades home.
The signs on the wall are the kennel signs of the dogs that died in combat. There were a little over 400 of these dogs that were killed in action in the Vietnam War. But this total number around me is the 3,400 that for whatever reason did not leave Vietnam. Every dog in Vietnam had his name and his 4-digit ID number that was on a kennel sign.
Look, they're smoking.
So I started cutting out the 4,000 signs to represent each dog that served in the Vietnam War. There were only 204 surviving dogs Of the over 4,000 that served.
Rest easy, little buddy.
But the tragic story of the dogs used was the 3,400 kennel signs here that either died of disease, or we gave to the South Vietnamese Army, or was destroyed at the end of the war because they were considered surplus equipment.
When we go to an event and there are Vietnam vets there, we always thank them for their service. And I let Fluffy go over there to kind of say thank you to them too. And it's pretty hard because you see how choked up they get and how hard it is that because they're remembering their dogs when they're touching him.
Good boy.
It's kind of like you leaving your house saying, I'm going to go into a hostile situation and I'm going to bring my favorite pet. As much as they are equipment to the military, they are the handler's comrade.
They were more than just a tool. They were part of us.
So when you want to say what his duties were, everybody always asks, what did he do? What did he do?